Chris here once again, reporting live from the Western Cape. The arrivals numbers are out for July 2026 for South African refugees in the U.S., and a record has been set. 2,528 South Africans, more than 1,000 than the previous high in April back at 1,570. So arguably the first full month of refugee arrivals with significant numbers. With this total, 10,258, we have 60 days left in this fiscal year in August and September for more arrivals. If this pace continues at 2,500 per month, that would be an additional 5,000 and would take the total to over 15,000 for the year if that pace continues. So we'll see if that's the case. But right now, we set a record in July of 2026 of 2,528 refugees. We've seen a lot of anecdotal evidence. I've received hundreds of messages from South Africans informing me they've arrived in America. They're in the States over the past month. And I've been cautious and didn't want to make a premature assessment because it's not an accurate reflection. The fact that hundreds of people contact me doesn't mean that there's a higher number. However, it does seem to have been an accurate indicator that, in fact, 2,528 South Africans came to the United States. Well, I should say went to the United States because I'm in South Africa right now. So that sets a record and takes the total of 10,258 refugee arrivals, of which 10,255 are South Africans this fiscal year. 10 months of the 12 months are gone now. It leaves 2 months left. If that pace continues, then the cap will have been close to being matched. So that's impressive. It's good to see that that's actually happened. That works out to approximately 82 South Africans have arrived on the shores of the United States as a refugee each and every day in the month of July. Wow. So if we add that 10,255 to the previous 300, 10,590 total refugees have gone to the United States. To my knowledge, 6 have returned to South Africa and 3 or 4 have passed away. So you take 10 from that number, that would be 10,580 South Africans currently having achieved refuge in the United States. So those are the July numbers. I know it's late. It's almost midnight here in South Africa, and I'm knackered, don't feel very well. But I just wanted to give you an update as quick as possible, let you know that, in fact, the numbers are out. And Texas leads the way with over 1,200 refugees going to Texas so far this year, making 12% roughly of all refugees have been sent to Texas. It is the first and only state in the union to achieve a total of over 1,000 South Africans. California comes close second with 801, then Florida with over 700. But Texas is the only state with over 1,000, with 1,200 plus South African refugees having arrived there. Anyway, folks, that's where we're at. Why is my chat not working? I don't see any chat coming here. There we go. Just one chat message from 12 people. What happened here? It got awfully quiet. Yep, you just heard Texas mentioned. Well, that's because Texas has over 1,200 refugees. So there you have it, folks. I did promise I would get the information to you as quick as possible. What I can say here is that the anecdotal information that I received throughout the month from messages coming from multiple hundreds of South Africans that they had arrived in the United States, clearly it was a fair indicator that we set a record. The closest we've come to this in the past was in April with 1,570 refugees. Now, in July, 2,528 South Africans came over. It's a huge jump. It is a huge jump. At that pace, that would be 30,000 refugees per year if the pace was consistent at 2,500 per month. That is quite significant for a program that was basically an airplane constructed in mid-flight, which is what this in-country refugee program has been for South Africans. So there you have it, folks. A lot of people ask me, what are the numbers? What are the numbers? Well, now you have the numbers. 2,528 in the month. 1,000 more than the best month. And compared to November when it was just 125, that's really a big change. In December, it was 595, January 931, February 1507. I thought we were getting somewhere. March 1341 because we didn't do anything for the first 8 days of the month. And then April 1570, I thought we were on track again. May dropped to 599 as there was a pause in the program. June 1062, which puzzled all of us. And now in July, 2,528. Yes, Hein, if that trend continues, that would be another 5,000 before the end of the fiscal year. Hello from Minnesota. Yeah, so now you've got the numbers. And It's pretty interesting. Let's see how many people are actually in Minnesota. So somebody said Minnesota. I already talked about Texas. Minnesota has now 111 South Africans. 37 arrived in July. That's the biggest number by far. The previous best was 25 for Minnesota. So there you go. Quite impressive, the numbers given this program. A couple people in Minnesota there. Okay, cool. All right. Anyway, any questions about this? Anyone have a question for me since I'm live right now? If you've got a question related to this, please let me know, and I'll be happy to answer it as best I can. I'm supposed to be sleeping, but I'm not. And Chris could see us in Florida. Hello, Chris. How's it going? Yeah, Florida has, I think, 801. Is that the number I said? Richfield, Minnesota. Yeah, I know that. Okay, Florida has 776. California has 801. So they have 776 in Florida. 195 arrived in July. That's the biggest number there, too. So there you have it. America's population has grown by over 10,000 with the arrival of South Africans. And with the arrival of illegals in the country, it's grown by over 200,000. Just kidding. Just kidding. Ohio, I'm curious about Ohio. Ohio got 89. It was the second best month there at 415. All right, so there you have it. Anyway, no questions are coming in. So if no questions, again, I'll repeat, 82 South Africans per day arrived in the United States in July 2026, setting a record of 2,528. Well, CWS has always known they only receive money by processing, but the problem is they have donors, and they thought they could survive on the donors' money, but the donors' money hasn't been forthcoming in the way that it had been in the past, so they find themselves in a bind. I think some of these people that run these organizations really don't care about truth and justice. They care about their demented leftist ways. Look at the Episcopal Church, St. Michael's in Brattleboro, Vermont, who deny services to all refugees because South Africans came over and their stupid understanding of South Africa. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, so yeah, Debbie, it is a big number. That is a big number. So 2,500, we weren't expecting that high number. I mean, I had evidence that it might be the case, but I didn't want to get anybody's hopes up and make a prediction because I didn't have any concrete evidence, just anecdotal. Hein agrees with my analysis. Well, thank you for that, Hein. I appreciate that. Let me get to the studio. So I can see a chat over here better in the studio. But yeah, I know a lot of people have been waiting on these numbers. And for people that are waiting for a long time, perhaps this will give them some hope. Again, I'm not in the business of giving hope, but perhaps it will give them some hope. Mass support from groups in Texas. People are well looked after in many respects. That's true, Web Wolf. That's true. But we have some entitled, spoiled people coming over too, who are ruining for everybody. It's a shame. Mental chewing gum. What's up? Jan Bailey, how you doing? Having insane issues with the refugee agency here in the Midwest. Sorry, I didn't know you were even in the States, mental chewing gum. Okay, where's the Midwest? Midwest runs from Ohio to Colorado to Nebraska. That's the Midwest. So that's a big swath of land. A big swath of land. Iowa, that is the Midwest. Where in Iowa? Ames, Des Moines. It is a bit like Mr. Total Amount of both South Africa and the States. Yes, you did. If you just tuned in, 2,528 in July, 10,590 arrived. 6 returned, 4 passed away. So 10,580 South Africans currently in the United States under this program. There's a lot more South Africans in America, but that's under this program. At this pace, you're going to outdo the number of South Africans who immigrated to the United States at some point. But the people worried about the 17,000 cap number have been adjusted. We are going to approach that number very soon at this pace. 2 months left of fiscal year. You could add another 5,000 plus would take us to over 15,000 for the fiscal year. Davenport, Iowa. Well, we have other people in Davenport who aren't having problems. I wonder if you have a different agency. I doubt it. Maybe you just have a bad case officer. Sorry to hear that, Mel chewing gum. Yep. Wow. So let me take a look at some numbers here. Where the heck's that at? Is it here? There it is. Okay. Excuse me. So 10,255 and 3 from Afghanistan for the year. That's the total. Bringing the total number of refugees under this program since, what's the year they listed here? Is it 1980? Since 1975, excuse me, to 3,700,000 that have come into the country since 1975 under the refugee program. Most of them since 1980 under the current law. You're doing fantastic. I must tell refugees not to start GoFundMe and wish list, please. Well, GoFundMe and wish list, I think that's not real. I think, Jan Bailey, that's someone setting up the program trying to make people look bad. I saw someone sent me that that wish list. If you're dumb enough to buy something or GoFundMe for somebody who's acting to try to fleece you, then you're making a dumb mistake. Thank you, Jan Bailey. I'm trying to. And Sedgefield says brown wine out of stock in many U.S. shops. Really? I have no trouble getting any booze in my state of Pennsylvania. Penn's Woods, Penn's Forest. No problem getting any booze whatsoever. It's expensive, but I can get it. 40 families in the area here, all demographics, guessing that debunks the white-only myth perpetrated by ill-informed. Well, Web Wolf, I've been debunking that since February of last year through interviews with actual South Africans who arrived in the States, colored, Indian, white, English-speaking, and even black South Africans. So, yeah, I've debunked it all along. But the media refuses to tell the truth because they're frauds. They're propagandists. They're yellow journalists. Their mission in life is not to inform the public and hold government accountable. Their mission in life is to misinform the public and perpetuate racial hatred and divide. That is the mission of the media. They refuse, they refuse, they refuse, they refuse. It's a shame, but that's who they are. Yep. Anyway, then you want to go easy cases, progress fast. That's an assumption on your part. What evidence do you have that easy cases progress fast? And what do you describe as an easy case? There's no such thing as an easy case. Every case has its own permutations. What do you mean by an easy case? And where are you getting that data from? Or are you just making an assumption? Assumptions should be backed in some way with some sort of factual information. Cool Beans says, hi, everyone, it's up. Cool Beans, did you hear the numbers? 2,528 in July. Over 1,000 more than the best month this fiscal year. Welcome, Butter. So did you hear that? Webwolf said, indeed, sir, that's why we only assume Professor G on the ground as it happens reporting. Yep. Well, I'm on the ground here meeting with refugee aspirants, who had ineligibility letters delivered to them. Heartbreaking, but I have met with them. So pretty crazy stuff. Also, I noticed tonight comments on one of my videos, people still spreading their conspiracy theories about the ineligibility letters. It's a shame that people do that. Lioness says that's good. Would like 4 seats for her family. Well, that seems like a reasonable request. Anyway, Alma Sunflower, how you doing? How's it? How you doing? Colbean says, good news and sad news because we're not one of them. Yeah, no, I get your point. Ocular Smile, member for 17 months. Thank you for being a member. And Kati Fundiban, hot South Florida. You can have Florida. You can have Texas. You can have Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Arkansas. You can have them all. I'll take New Mexico or Arizona, but only in the mountains of Arizona and New Mexico. No, I just do not like that heat. How am I? Marinda, I'm ill, and I've been struggling to concentrate, thinking I left things behind, and my mental acuity is not what it should be because I'm under the weather and I'm still pushing myself. Canola crop is up 30%. Well, I don't know if it's up 30%, but it sure is everywhere I go in South Africa. Butter, I will go to Vermont. I was always going to go to New Hampshire and Massachusetts and Connecticut, but I'll be making a Battleboro visit too. Wow, Hein, thank you for everything you did for us. Blessings to Colonel from Little Boca, all to his glory and Strauss family. Thank you, 700 Rand, Hein. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Wow, very kind of you, man. That was very, very awesome. Well, Miranda, I can only get well if I rest, and I'm not resting because, you know, you pay a fortune to come over and a fortune for rental cars and for petrol and for lodging, although my lodging tonight is free, very kind, generous, given to me. At least I think it's free. They didn't give me a bill. Anyway, yeah, but I spent a fortune on this and I can't afford to take a break. So my radio program is normally on in about 50 minutes, but I'm not going to do it and stay up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to rest tonight and hopefully be better. But tomorrow I've got a meeting at 10 o'clock, another one 11:30, and then a meet and greet, which I've got to set up the sign for at 4 p.m. at Im Eimer in Somerset West. But anyway, we've got the numbers for July. That's the important thing. That is the important thing. Alma Sunflower says, Texas is great, love it. Well, I'm glad you love it. I don't. How should I approach the program? I was deported out of China a few years back due to an agent using false documents to get a work visa. You're going to be denied? I don't know if you're going to be denied. False documents can be a bar, can be a flag for a refugee aspirant. However, the circumstances may mean that they don't find you guilty or responsible. My answer to you is Stoffel is nothing ventured, nothing gained. You should put your application in. You should go about your life and business as if nothing ever happened. If they call you, go for the interviews. If you get refugee status, then you got what you were looking for. That's all I can say. That's the only thing that makes sense. Idaho is lovely, and so is Arizona. I will be in South Africa for several more weeks. I know it's already shared. What are the numbers for July? Yes, Anine, you are late, and yes, I did share it. 2,528 refugees arrived on the United States soil in July, setting a record, beating the previous best month in April by over 1,000. 2,528, taking our total to 10,255 for the year, fiscal year. At this pace, we'll get to 15,000 plus before the end of the fiscal year on 30 September. If that pace is sustained, it could also be increased. So I said a lot of people obviously have been coming over based on people contacting me over the past 4 weeks. And it turns out, yeah, it's crazy, Utopia. 25, 28 is a crazy number. Yep. Pace has really, really picked up. Really, really picked up. Which is good news for South Africans who want to come over. Bad news for South Africa, but good news for South Africans who want to come over. Pizza parties thanking God for the number rising. Cool. Western Cape got investment in the farming along West Coast of USA, sheep and cattle. From whom? Who made the investment? Who made the investment? Plus the 342. Yes, 345 the previous year, 342, whatever it was. Wow. 74 is of those numbers, so grateful. Okay, I mean, so you're already there. So your family's already in the U.S. Congratulations. Yeah, it's crazy. That's a big number. One a lot of people weren't expecting, but there it is. Leftist policy being pushed by an NGO on to South Africa at cultural orientation. I can't answer that question, Butter, because you're not telling me the circumstances. What leftist politics pushed by whom? You give me a generic question I couldn't possibly answer. It's not the role of a contractor to talk politics with refugees. They don't get paid to talk politics. That's not their mission. If they're doing it, then report them. Simple as that. Whether it's leftist or rightist politics, they're wrong. Bambi Slayer, how's it going? I have no idea what Sedgefield's talking about selling roosters. What's that got to do with anything? Alto's going said, this is our month. Well, I will return home to the United States before the fiscal year ends, and I will be on a flight, I suspect, most likely with a number of South Africans. And I hope that it's an interesting flight, and I look forward to it. Oh, there aren't 2,500 people in the channel watching and waiting. No, cool beans. If you're paying attention to the stream, at least 10 or 12 people that are in the stream have went over this month. They said so. They came on and said they just went over this month on the stream. Alto's Glory says, save me a seat. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. How's the music stick working out? The flight is always very long for me, but I get your point. People are going to be talking to me probably. Yeah. Maybe if enough South Africans talk to me and they think I'm a celebrity, they'll give me a first-class seat and get to sit up front. Wouldn't that be cool? I've never flown first class. I've flown business class a couple of times because I got upgraded. There's no seats and I had to fulfill government tickets, but I've never flown first class. That would be something else. Anyway, yeah, that could be a long flight. But anyway, for those just tuning in now, and I see some more numbers are joining us, this is a summary of the July arrivals in the United States. 2,528 South Africans did arrive in the month of July 2026, the largest month by over 1,000 additional. The best previous month had been April of 2026, 1,570. We've eclipsed that by an additional 1,000 this month, and that explains the cap being risen from 7,000 to 17,000. At this pace, if they just sustain it for August and September, they would reach over 15,500 for the year. Alma Sunflower says, 2 families we know came over in July, so it's happening yet. Yep. Disulfide fluoroxychloride, welcome to you. It's a mouthful. Yep. Anyway, and nobody has any other questions? I think that's the only questions I got. So, yep. I didn't have time to make a prepared video, plus I'm under the weather, so I decided to go live with this. I did do a short very quickly, but now we're doing live. Gus is in from Buffalo. Let's shuffle off to Buffalo. What's the word up there in the Empire State on the western end of New York? Gus, how you doing? How you doing? I was in touch with our mutual friend, and she says she's doing okay, but she's concerned. One family have been waiting 9 months, the other 4 months. Okay, Alma, are those the 2 families that have come over? They waited 9 months, the other waited 4 months? He says, well done on pronouncing my name. And I'm under the weather. I'm sick, so I did pretty good. Yeah. Used for silver recovery. Yeah. It leaches it out, doesn't it? Yeah, that's how crazy the timelines are. Well, 4 months I've never seen, so I don't know if it's really 4 months. Is it 4 months when they were contacted or 4 months from the time they put in an intake questionnaire? Yep. Linus, I don't know if they would pass a judge a note saying, remember, they stole the land. Where did that rumor come from? I'm not aware of that. But I was in the courtroom all day, every day. I went there on Monday and I went there on Wednesday. I wasn't there on Tuesday at all. So I can't say, I don't know. Anyway, just 33 likes. There's 66 people here, man. You saw it on X. Well, X is a cesspool. I wouldn't believe anything there from there unless you have a source. Just because something gets published doesn't mean it's real. Look at News 24. Most of what they publish is poppycock. I don't believe the 4 months pizza party. I don't believe that. Kaki, well, they could hit over 3,000 in August. 31 days, they could hit over 3,000 up the pace. Judge said with respect, it's their culture. That's different than someone handing a note to the judge. And where did you hear it? What's the source? X is not a source. It's a location for people to publish information. Bambi says they're ready for departure. Well, congratulations, Bambi. And which judge? Was it Saldana? Okay. Wonderful news, says Marmine. Monza, welcome to people tuning in now, just joining us. We got a big 700 Rand super chat. That was awesome to see that come in. Thank you so much for that. That was real. Wasn't expecting any super chats on this stream. Wow. Anyway, so yeah, there you have it, folks. It's been an epic, big month for refugee arrivals in the United States, and I'm sure that that this will be reported by news outlets in South Africa tomorrow. Is he colored? Yeah, I guess he's colored. Yeah, he could be black too. News 24 equals CNN. Yeah, I would love to know why everyone is still awake. Well, all to his glory. You were young. That's probably why you're awake. We will see if I find anything of actual substance at the top. Well, thank you, Linus. I wasn't there all the time, but I was there for a few hours, and went on a couple of days, and I found it interesting. I will do another video on that if I have time, but I haven't had time. I've got all the interviews I did last night, and I haven't had time to edit those. I'm just going to hit the rack here shortly. But yeah, so this stream is all about the numbers that came over in July and the total for the year. Riddell Bailu says most people here are in the USA. Well, that explains some of the numbers because it's only 6 p.m. in the United States. South Dakota, it's only 4 in the afternoon. So, yeah. What about South Dakota, Renee? What is that? You put a South Dakota with a question mark. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? I don't understand what that means, South Dakota. Anyway, yeah, so it looks like there's no more questions coming in. Well, I told you that depart in 2 to 4 weeks doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. Hein says, I'm awake to listen to my colonel and I'm old. Hey, Hein. Yep. And thanks for the super chat. Yeah, the get ready for departure in 2 to 4 weeks does not mean you're leaving 2 to 4 weeks. I've cautioned people that all along. Just waiting flight tickets, says Codefoot. Wow, Codefoot. Now that's an interesting username. Yep. Well, we'll see for August. Anyone want to make any predictions? You guys want to predict how many will come out? Let's just do Colonel, you are so privileged to be American and have a government you can be proud of. Well, I'm proud of my government again now, but I wasn't proud of my government a couple of years ago. They were fascist under Biden. Many refugees do you come on. There we go. All right, there's a poll if you want to answer it. It's purely voluntarily, not scientific. How many refugees do you think will arrive in August, since we're talking about the refugee arrivals? 16 notice from receiving tickets to flight. Yep, that's short. Okay, another question mark, Utah. I don't understand what question marks. What are you asking? It's not a question. They haven't added more flights. The airlines have flights. They're just taking up more seats on the planes. Big pleasure when we as a family are going to say it will be super chat in dollars, not rands. That'd be awesome, Hein. Yep. There is no timeline, Cool Beans. You know that. Especially, and you should know that very well because you had approval a long time ago. Good news, my daughter and her fiance got work from today at the same place. See, there you go. He told me, and he was moaning earlier about not getting, or she was upset that he wasn't getting handouts. Now they're earning their way. That's how it should be. Congratulations. I'm not surprised your daughter got a job. She's got a great attitude. And I suspect that she's a very good worker. Okay. Big pleasure. Well, there's no timeline, Cool Beans. You can ask all you want, but it's not going to change the fact that there's no timeline. Oh, okay. How many is South Dakota and Utah? Now I understand what you guys are asking. Okay, let me get the numbers back. Damn it. South Dakota got 15 in July, has 70. South Dakota. Utah got 27, it hit 100. So not a lot of people in South Dakota and Utah. So, but those are great locations, both of them. Both of them are great locations. Why am I getting a note telling me I have notifications on X? That's new. Suddenly X is sending me messages telling me I have notifications. I don't want that crap. Okay, so yeah. So that answers those questions, South Dakota and Utah, okay? Yeah, no, it's pretty horrible. It seems to have gotten worse. So anyway, I just took some medicine again, but let's see helping. Thank you. Hopefully I will feel better. This is a nasty one. So looks like the majority of people or plurality of people are saying 2,500. Let's see what the poll says. Yeah, that seems to be the number. Well, that's not too far behind, or 3,000. Interesting, but only 38 votes. So why would I want to see a nurse? That's not going to solve my problem. It's not going to solve my problem. This bug needs to be vanquished. That's what's going to solve my problem. Hey, Karen, what's up? All right, so there you go. All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up here. I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to share this if you like with people. Let them know. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done it already. We got just 46 likes, 86 people here currently. I'm going to hit the rack. It's 12:25 in the morning. I need lots of rest. I have a 10 o'clock appointment, and I have to do something substantive. So God bless. Have a good night from the Western Cape in the mother city of Cape Town. All right? Good night, everybody. Why are you sorry, all to his glory? What are you sorry about? Anyway, cheers. Thanks for being here.